Alright, so the dust has settled at least a bit after the initial Aleo mining hype earlier this year. So now that more miners are out on the market and actually have started shipping out to customers and have been turned onto the network, I want to take another look at the landscape of Aleo miners. How are things looking now? Will, these miners ever ROI and actually make a profit? Are they even a good deal, or are they just not worth it? Well, I've put together an in-depth spreadsheet to try and predict this as best we can. So that's what's coming up in this video of this quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central, which is an online store for ASIC miners with an over 6-year track record of overwhelmingly positive customer reviews. They have all the latest and most profitable miners, from silent home miners to full-size ASICs. They can even provide immersion cooling systems and offer great bulk pricing on ASICs. Based in the UK, Coin Mining Central prioritizes great customer support, strict personal detail protection, and free worldwide shipping on all miners with no additional payment fees at checkout. You can also utilize their loyalty and referral programs to save on your next purchase. Plus, use my link down in the video description and code 𝗧 at checkout for a roughly $130 discount on every miner in your order priced over £1,000. So check out that link below together with the code to save on your purchase. So first off, as always, nothing in this video is financial advice. And yes, Coin Mining Central, who do sell these miners that we're going to be looking at, are sponsoring this video. However, they did not specifically ask me to make this video. I'm free to say whatever I want about these miners. They don't get to preview the video and approve it before it goes live or anything like that. And my main goal with this video is to provide you guys with the spreadsheet that we'll have a look at in just a second, so that you guys can make a copy of it and use it to make your own predictions based on your own circumstances, and then evaluate if you think these miners are worth it or not based on that. I can't see the future, and whatever predictions I might make are no better than the ones that you make based on your own situation. And that's kind of a big part of what I want to do here on this channel. Give you guys the tools and the knowledge to make the best possible decisions based on your own circumstances. And when you do feel like buying something is right for you, well, then you have the option to support the channel by using the discount codes or affiliate links that are in the video description, as well as in the spreadsheet. Now, there are a few big unknowns about Aleo mining and the future profitability of Aleo mining still. And I did make a very in-depth video about that a little while ago, which I definitely recommend you watch if you haven't already. I'll link that down below as well. And, even though things are a little bit more clear now than it was back when I made that video, there are still a few question marks. Like, will the coin price just keep going down like it has been? How many of these, currently available miners are actually going to ship out to people and join the network? In doing so, also then lowering the coin yield for all miners. And maybe most importantly, are there newer, more efficient, more powerful miners about to be released that will absolutely crush what's available right now? We're still yet to see a full-size ASIC from IceRiver, and we haven't even heard anything from Bitmain at this point, except for a very mysterious tweet they did about Aleo from, I think over a year ago at this point. So yeah, go watch that previous video if you need more info about those things before you carry on with this video. Because yeah, I guess now we're gonna hop over onto the computer and have a look at the spreadsheet together. All right, so first, when you open up this spreadsheet, you'll be met by this screen with a few disclaimers just about, things to know about making predictions like this, and also about how I'm fetching some of the data in the sheet. It also walks you through how to actually use the sheet here. And as you can see, you need to hit, file, make a copy, and that allows you to make a copy of the sheet. And in doing so, you will then be able to enter some of your own predictions and circumstances like your own power price and such things. Now, one thing is that usually with these sheets, I auto fetch the price of the miners from the, reseller website. However, at this time, I could not get that to work with this. So the price for the miners that are listed here are just the prices as of today, which I've manually entered into the sheet. So please do bear that in mind as you go through the sheet here, that I've updated these today, but they will not keep auto-updating for the foreseeable future. They'll stay with what it is today. So what you want to do when you open up this sheet here is fill in these yellow fields here. So this is kind of you making your own predictions, and I suggest, inputting different kinds of predictions here to see different kinds of scenarios and how, the thing would work out. The first one is obviously your power price. I got it at 15 cents per kilowatt hour. Then how long you are, expecting to be mining with these machines for. So I've put it at, 4 months. We could change that to maybe a year, let's say. Then if you believe you'll be able to sell the miner at the end of those 12 months, this is how much you expect it to be able to sell it for in terms of like a multiplier of the original price. So 0.25 times is, $1,000 miner, you'd be able to resell it for $250 and so on. I think you get the point there. This is how much you would want to see the coin price grow or shrink before you sell it. Also, some of the predictions in this sheet will be based around, mining, holding, and then selling all at once at the end of this 12-month period, or however long you input there. Then we also have the net hash growth here as two separate fields. So the first one is if you expect the network hash rate to grow a significant amount before you even were to receive your machine. If you order it today, let's say you order it from the same batch as a bunch of other people, you might expect 50 gigaproofs to be added to the network at the same time, maybe 200 gigaproofs before you get your machine or whatever. And then you also have this, which is the estimated network hash rate growth per month. So you're gonna have to look up, look at the graph of that. We can actually bring it up and you can see it here that this is the network hash rate growth since the end of January this year, where it's kind of gone from 0.2 terahash, and then now in the recent couple of months here have kind of jumped up to be about, 2 terahash almost at this point. So yeah, big jump in hash rate there, about a 10x in hash rate, which also means a 10x reduction in coin yield for miners based on the same hash rate, more or less. So just keep that in mind. We could kind of maybe say with that, we're expecting to see a, 500, because it's kind of been plateauing now for a bit. It was kind of steady for a while, then did a big jump up and now plateauing again. So it all comes down to kind of what you think the future for Aleo miners might look like. If you think, this is what's going to be out now and it's going to be just kind of a little bit of steady growth, or if you believe there is a massive new Aleo miner, coming out in just the next month, which will bring a massive amount of new hash rate onto the network, that's kind of what you're going to have to use these two fields for. Let's set it at a conservative, maybe 150 gigaproofs on average over the next month in terms of growth, which would be about a 1.8 teraproofs, right? Am I getting that right? In the next year or so. So enough about that. Let's look at the actual miners here. And we're gonna, first of all, just compare the specs of the miners based on two things. You can obviously see, the hash rate each miner gets and the amount of power it pulls. But those things are less, they're good to compare it to, based on if you're looking for a small home miner that doesn't pull a lot of power versus if you're looking for a big miner that pulls a lot of power but gives a lot of hash rate, those kinds of things. But it's especially more important to look at them as a relation to each other, which is the mining efficiency. So essentially, how much hash rate are you getting per watt of power, or how many watts of power needs to be pulled per mega proof of hash rate that you are getting, which is exactly what this row is here. So the efficiency row, and as you can see, I've kind of done this sort of gradient where the darker green it is, the better it is. And you want this number to be as low as possible because you want the thing to use as little power as possible per amount of hash rate you are getting. And you can see the two clear winners here are the IceRiver AE0 and the IceRiver AE3, which is one of the newest miners. There used to be an AE1 Lite version that would get this same efficiency, where it did 300 mega proofs. However, I cannot find that version for sale anymore. It seems that they are kind of selling a bit of a nerfed version of the AE1 Lite now, which only does 250 mega proofs. So do keep that in mind. The AE0 and the AE3 are the most efficient ones on the market right now. They are incredibly more efficient than all of the Goldshell machines. They aren't even in the same ballpark, in my opinion. Definitely from an efficiency term, point of view, go with IceRiver if you're gonna go with anything. I would not recommend any of these Goldshells. I don't know if I would recommend the IceRivers either. That depends on what we find looking at this spreadsheet here today. But if you're gonna go for anything, then go for the IceRivers just in terms of efficiency. We can also look at the price per megaproof here. And this essentially means how expensive is the miner per hash rate that you are getting. Again, the darker the green, the better. And we can see that the IceRiver here does give you the best, but it's also on par with one of the Goldshells that give you the same cost per hash rate. So essentially, this is value for money, what gives you the most hash rate for your dollar spent. Now, that aside, let's look at some of the current mining results here. So you just got stuff like your daily revenue, which is the mining income, just the coins you get, sell them at today's coin price. How much is that in terms of USD? So you can see those values there. You then have the power cost based on your, whatever power price you've put in the field up here. At 15 cents per kilowatt hour, you can see I'm gonna be looking at the AE3 most closely because I think if any of these are interesting, that one is the most interesting. And you can see that's at $3.60 in terms of power price, leaving you with just over $20 daily profit right now. And if that were to stay as it is with nothing changing at all for the next, 200 days, well, then you would actually break even on this machine in under 200 days, in 192 days. But there's one thing that's for sure in mining, it's that things never stay the same, not even for one day. Coin prices go up and down and like crazy, network hash rate changes, and so on and so forth. So based on that, let's take it a little bit of a step further and look at the long-term mining results. Again, so just predictions based on whatever you input at the top here. So with those things taken into account, mining for 12 months, selling the miner for a quarter of what you bought it for, no coin price growth, which if you put, 1x here, no coin price growth, that is essentially like comparing these miners, the price of the miner and the electricity cost of running them, taking that amount of money and comparing that to just buying the coin instead. So that is what we're kind of comparing as of right now. And you can see with the immediate net hash growth, meaning before you even get the machine, the net hash growth by about 10% from what it is now, and then a little bit less than 10% month on month from there. Well, I shouldn't say that. 150. It's not a logarithmic growth. It's a linear growth with my sheet here, which is 150 even each month. You can see that the ROI for the AE3 is actually 128%, which, okay, you are generating a final revenue of $6,200 or so dollars. The estimated revenue after the power cost is just under $5,000, and taking the money spent out completely, so both power cost and the price of the miner after using the discount code, is a profit of $1,000 there. So there you go, $1,000 profit in 12 months based on these to be fair, kind of random numbers that I've input up here. Now, I want to, before we head out and wrap up this video here, have a look at this as well, the in-depth analysis, because this is where, you know, I think you get more value when comparing these things, you know, because these are just predictions kind of based on numbers, but we can't predict things that well, you know, because we can't tell the future. What we can do is we can look at the actual just situation we're in right now and trying to analyze that situation as best as possible. So that is what I'm doing here. And we can see here the highest profitable power price, which is essentially what is, you know, what power price could you be mining with these different machines and still break even at this point. And the reason I bring that up is because it's a great way to compare miners between different algorithms as well as within the same algorithm. So you can see here, it also kind of displays the relationship between profit and power price, or like costs of running the machine. So we can see here we have both of the high-end IceRivers, where you could be paying over $4 per kilowatt hour and still be profitable with these things. Whereas for the Goldshell boxes, you're talking about cents, not full dollars, right? Now, this I think is more interesting here. So this is what I call the net hash growth resistance score. This is something I kind of invented, I guess. I mean, it's not really an invention, but essentially what this is it takes the miner that you are looking at, which in this case is the IceRiver AE3, and it also looks at the current network hash rate and the current profitability of this miner at your stated power price. And it does a math magic, and it says, okay, how many of the most powerful miner there is for this coin need to come online on the network for the miner in question, the one we're actually looking at, to become unprofitable. So as an example here, let's pick the AE0. So if we're buying an AE0, how many of the best miner for this coin, which is currently the AE3, because it's the one with the most hash rate, right? 600 megaproofs per second. So this field here, this exact cell, asks the questions: how many AE3s need to be turned on for an AE0 to become unprofitable if you have a 15 cents per kilowatt hour power price? And the answer to that question is a bit over 18,000, almost 19,000 AE3s need to be turned on right now on the current situation with network hash rate and profitability and coin price and all of those things for an AE0 to become unprofitable. And as you can see, this is where it really becomes clear kind of how important the efficiency is, because these three IceRivers have, you know, they're leagues ahead in terms of efficiency. And as you can see, that really shows here. So with these, you know, we're talking 15 to 18,000 AE3s that need to be turned on before they become unprofitable. Whereas for these Goldshell machines, you're talking a couple hundred, you know, less than 200 for the worst one of the bunch, and still not even 1,000 for the best of the bunch among the Goldshell ones. So that is something to really keep in mind. Yeah, I value this a lot when I look at what miners to sort of potentially invest in, because I think this gives you a good perspective of kind of the real situation of like, okay, well, how many miners actually need to come on before the miner I'm looking at will become unprofitable for me. Next, we have the net hash growth needed for the miner to become unprofitable. And we can see for the AE3, or the AE0 as well, the net hash needs to grow by 658%, where 100% would be no net hash growth, right? And the reason I'm doing 100% meaning no net hash growth is because when you have some miners that aren't even profitable right now, you actually need the network hash rate to shrink. So that's how I'm displaying that as a number lower than 100%. So this essentially means 6.58 times the current network hash rate is where at current coin price and your specified power price here, the AE3 would become unprofitable. Now, taking into account these fields here, do not take, you know, future predictions from these four fields here into account, because they're just looking at the current situation, right? Next is the coin price change to ROI in 1 full year. And this is the second kind of important in-depth analysis metric that I look at, because what this tells me is if I set this machine up now and I let it mine for 365 days, how much does the coin price need to change for me to still ROI within a year? And again, this does not take into account the prediction fields up here. It's just looking at the current situation in terms of net hash, coin price, mining profit, and so on. But it still gives us a really good comparison between these miners, because as you can see, with the AE3, the coin price could actually drop by over 40% and you'd still ROI with this machine in 365 days. As opposed to, for example, the worst Goldshell box, where to turn that on and to make a, ROI, to break even in a full year, you actually need Aleo's coin price to increase by over 200% in value. So it just gives a very big, kind of a clear visual of the difference between these machines in terms of just potential to ROI. Of course, it's not going to be this because, as it says clearly here, this is at the current net hash and profitability, which, based on these things, and Bitmain probably coming out with a more powerful miner, probably, right? We don't know. But we can be certain that these will not stay the way they are. Finally, lowest coin price were still profitable. And that is looking at the current situation, and it's asking the question, all right, take this machine at the power price that I've stated up here. How much could the coin price drop from here with no change to network hash rate or anything like that? And this machine would still be profitable for me. And for the two best IceRivers here, coin price could drop by almost 85% in value, and they would still be profitable as of today. For some of these other ones, you can see the worst Goldshell one, if the coin price just drops by not even 5% by tomorrow, this thing is not profitable at 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So please download this sheet, make a copy of it, link is down in the video description. Enter your own predictions, play around with it, and base any potential purchasing decisions on your own predictions, not the kind of little predictions that I made potentially in this video. All right, thank you so much for watching. Over here will be the link to my previous video on Aleo miners, so go check that out, at least the bit in the beginning where I kind of go through all the unknowns of Aleo mining. So I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.